The following is a presentation of the TNH Podcast Network.
Give me Steve Novak. Give me Matt Bonner. Give me Big Shot Bob. Give me a team player. Give me somebody who is respectful of his teammates, who doesn't say, I knew I was the greatest player of all time when I did that. That's when I knew I was number one. Get the hell out of here. He makes me want to vomit on a consistent basis. What is good, everyone? Welcome to the second episode of the Hoopcats podcast on the TNH Podcast Network. My name is Sam Eggert, and I'm here back with the crew, Yanni and Matt Erb. Say what's up, guys.
What's up, everybody? How we doing?
Hello.
We're here. We're ready to talk some basketball. In today's episode, we'll be talking about the Kyrie-less Celtics. We'll compare modern players to NBA legends. Matt and Yanni are going to debut some new segments later on in the pod. And we'll also be touching upon the NBA news cycle and what's been going on there, because there's always an assortment of stuff, especially with All-Star Weekend around us. But I want to start today with the local news, and that, as always, revolves around the man, the myth, the legend, the talker, the walker, the amazing ball handler, Kyrie Irving. Guys, they went into Philadelphia. Tobias Harris was there. They looked good with him. They won 2 games with him. The Celtics, without Kyrie, and not even a great Terry Rozier that night, went in, beat the Sixers 112-109. Yanni, let's get it started. I want to hear your thoughts on what was going on with that.
I really liked how the Celtics played against the Sixers. There's no franchise in modern sports that dominates another franchise like the Celtics dominate the Sixers. I think it's 10-2 in the last 12. The Sixers can't beat us if we had both our hands tied behind our backs. But my favorite part about that game, Gordon Hayward, by far. 6 for 7 from 3, and when he is playing like he can play, I don't think the Celtics are beatable in the East. They will ignite the flame under Gordon Hayward and get him going to become the best team in the East by the time the playoffs roll around, and you will see the Celtics in the NBA Finals this year if he plays like he did that night.
You know, I have to agree with you on some of this, but first of all, I like to say that I think OKC has a more of a win streak on Philly. I think they're 19-0 or 19-1, so, but Boston's a close second. My big takeaway from that game, and even the Pistons game after, I have never been more confident in saying that Kyrie Irving's not resigning. There's just no way. Not that the Celtics are better without him, because they're not. But if I'm Kyrie Irving and I see my team balling, like they played well against Philly, and they completely destroyed Detroit in the third quarter.
So what do you make of Danny Ainge saying that him and Kyrie are still, so to speak, engaged in terms of the contract talks, and the wedding is scheduled for July 1st?
I believe it. Don't get me wrong. I want Kyrie. As a Boston fan, I want Kyrie to resign, and I think Kyrie Irving isn't that concerned with money right now. I think he wants to win, and he's not going to win in New York. I mean, I don't believe he's going to the Lakers. He could win in LA, but I think his best chance of winning is in Boston right now, and he can get the most money if he resigns. But I find it hard to believe that after seeing how well his team, I think they're 8-2 without him.
Yeah.
And I just find it hard to believe that, looking into that he will resign.
Now, Matt, one of Kyrie's main things, I don't think it's about the money, and it's obviously about winning, but I think Kyrie's main focal point of his career is being the guy for his team. Do you think Kyrie is going to be the guy for however many years he signs with the Celtics, if he does?
Well, not if Anthony Davis comes. Anthony Davis, if he comes to Boston, Kyrie will not be the best player on the team.
No, it'll be a two-head. Well, yeah, Davis will be the best player, but it'll be a two-headed monster. They'll both take the reins. They're both approximately the same age.
Well, don't get me wrong. Who's handling the ball the last minute of the fourth quarter?
Kyrie
Irving. Kyrie Irving's getting that shot off.
And then Davis is a great second option. And then
Kyrie's
if we still have
Tatum.
Tatum's a great third option.
I don't think we're keeping Tatum if we're getting Davis, but that's besides the point.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. Another thing I want to bring up in regards to the Kyrie talk, actually not the Kyrie talk, the Al Horford talk. Al Horford seems to have Joel Embiid's ass every single time they go up against each other. Horford put up 23 points, 8 rebounds, and 4 steals in their last game. I mean, I think Al Horford doesn't get enough credit for how good he is. I mean, in the beginning of the season, he had a couple of games where he was struggling to put the ball in the basket. That'll happen. But when you talk about a guy who rebounds, plays good defense, steals the ball, blocks the ball, gets everybody in place where they need to be, and then can also go up against, in my opinion, the best center in basketball and lock him up for an entire game, what did Embiid even do?
He went like
Joel Embiid,
Yeah.
9 for 22, 2 for 8 from 3, mind you. 14 rebounds, he'll get that. He's 7'1", 200 million pounds, and 23 points. But, it wasn't his most efficient game. He did end up with a +3 for plus-minus. Tobias Harris -12, worst on the Sixers, surprisingly enough. But Al Horford, the guy just does things right on a consistent basis, and he's a leader.
Al Horford is the big brother to Joel Embiid's little brother. It's like the little brother challenging the big brother to a game to 11 outside and talking all the talk he wants. And then they actually get out there and the big brother wins 11-0 every single time. He dominates Joel Embiid more than anyone has dominated anyone in their careers.
Joel Embiid plays like an all-star almost against every team, but when he plays against Al Horford, he plays like he's never played basketball before. He plays like he's in his rookie season.
And the other guy that's in Embiid's head, Marcus Morris. We all remember that last year, the 3-0, doing that right in his face, not even looking at him. Embiid was shook by that. Not a lot of things shake Joel Embiid.
And touching on Marcus Morris, who said the Celtics weren't having fun after their win against Philly, he bought the whole team Philly cheesesteaks to have a little fun. The boys looked like they were having fun on the bench. It's a good sight to see if you're a Celtics fan.
After the game, Jay King of The Athletic, who published a story on Morris and him saying that they weren't having fun, asked Marcus Morris, "Are you having fun?" And he said yes. So if that says anything, there you have it, straight from the horse's mouth. So now we can move on to our next segment. We're going to compare current players to legends of the game in certain aspects. The first player that we're going to compare to is Shaquille O'Neal. Shaquille O'Neal, for those who don't know, I hope you know if you're listening to this podcast, was a specimen in the 90s and early 2000s. He's a 7'1", 280-pound center who can move. He can shoot from anywhere 12 feet and in. He's cash. He has one of the best hook shots in the history of the game. He used his elbows to his advantage. He's just probably the most dominant center of his era. Yanni, let's start with you. Who is your current day comp for Mr. O'Neal?
So I was sitting there and I'm just rolling through the list of centers and I am thinking to myself, there is no one that'll ever touch Shaq's jockstrap in regards to being Shaq. But if I had to give it to someone, I would give it to not today's DeAndre Jordan, but maybe 2 years ago, the Clippers' DeAndre Jordan. I think he had iffy-ish what Shaq had.
Brandon Knight, DeAndre Jordan, right?
Oh, yes. He just had moments where you're like, this guy can play basketball at a high level at the center position the way that Shaq did, but there will never be another Shaq, in my opinion, obviously.
I know you guys know your basketball. Anyone remember what Shaq's nickname was back in the day?
He had a lot of them. Diesel, Big Shaqtus. Which one are you thinking of?
I'm thinking of Superman, right?
That's Dwight Howard.
Superman. No, it was Shaq.
Dwight Howard.
I'm pretty sure it was Shaq. Because Shaq was named Superman, and recently, he on the Stephen A. Smith show, he said anyone can call Giannis Antetokounmpo Superman because the way he gets into the paint, the way he forces his way into things like Shaq did. I think Giannis is a better free throw shooter.
Not even by much.
What did Shaq shoot? I think Giannis shooting close to 60.
I'll look it up.
Technically, Shaq has been called Superman, so you...
Yeah, I just know that I saw on the Stephen A. Smith show, Shaq told he was quoted saying,
"Yeah, you're right.
I can't call anyone else Superman besides myself, but when I see this Giannis play, I'm giving my nickname, the Superman, to Giannis. The way he forces himself into the paint, dunks over everyone, is a physical specimen, and no one can stop him when he gets going."
Yeah, Shaq's 52.7% from free throw for his career. Giannis is 71% this season. So
I get your comparison to old DeAndre Jordan with the rebounds, the low free
low
throw shooting,
game, yeah.
And the way the size. But Giannis just once he's grooving, once he's getting his way, once the way he spins, just look at, he's a walking highlight. There's just nothing can compare.
Yeah, I agree. Closer with Matt than Yanni. There really isn't a modern day Shaq. It was kind of a ridiculous question. But I think Andre Drummond is the closest thing to him because Andre Drummond's entire game revolves around using his physicality, his big body, and just his athleticism to grab a comical amount of rebounds and also just put the ball in the basket from close range, which is basically what Shaq did, but Shaq obviously was doing it on a higher level. I think that in terms of dominance, Matt, you're probably right. with Giannis's ability to dominate around the rim, but Giannis just does so much more than Shaq did, so to speak, because he's the kind of guy who can dribble, he can set guys up, he plays unbelievable defense up and down the court rather than just below the hoop. But Drummond, he really is a modern-day Shaq, just like a poor man's modern-day Shaq, where he is dominant down low, he scores, he rebounds, he's a physical monstrosity. He doesn't compare to other guys in the league except for only a handful of people who aren't really that good. That's my opinion. Do you guys agree or disagree? Think that's a good comp?
I like it. That was going to be my choice till I saw that you had already locked him up. I like Andre in that spot, but I'd have to agree with you there.
All right, well, next position is who is the best ball handler? AI, probably the best ball handler of the early 2000s. I don't think anybody's arguing that. Do you guys have anybody else you would say?
No.
Yeah, that crossover. Some say it's a carry. I don't know. It might be, but screw it. He was nasty. His crossover killed people. It killed Michael Jordan. Now, for today's best ball handlers, I thought Kyrie Irving is the best ball handler in the game by an egregious amount. That man, like the things he does with the basketball every single time, it's like it's something new. His little in and out crossover, the jelly, I mean, it's all there. He finds ways to score that nobody has even considered thinking about before. With those little like step back fadeaways down on like the baseline from a guy who's what 6'2", 6'3",
Mm-hmm.
Unheard of. Matt, who'd you say?
I said James Harden. I think Kyrie Irving is the obvious one. It's hard to argue with that, but I'd consider the way James Harden gets into the paint and the way he can step back, shoot. I know it's not the direct comparison to AI like Kyrie Irving is, but Harden can just do whatever he can with the ball.
I like the Harden comparison a lot because AI had the signature move, which was the crossover. Harden has the signature move, which is the step back. I think that's really good.
And on mine, I chose Steph Curry for this. Obviously, he's known for his shooting, but people don't talk enough about how Steph Curry is arguably one of the best ball handlers in the league, if not the best behind Kyrie. So I think Steph is an incredible ball handler, just a complete player, and you'll see more of him for plenty of time to come.
Yeah, you remember that one he had against the Clippers last year?
Absurd.
Who did he move? It wasn't Gortat.
No. Off the top of my head, I can't remember, but
Either way,
I know the play you're thinking
he
of.
embarrassed that sorry
And we
man,
can't forget
whoever it
that
was.
last year, James Harden absolutely killed Wesley Johnson.
He
Speaking
killed-
of the Clippers,
He killed
that's
Wesley
my
Johnson.
favorite highlight from last year.
He killed Wesley Johnson, then he looked at him to
Yep.
make sure he was dead, and then he hit the shot.
Oh, that was my
unreal.
favorite. Yeah.
Just a quick shout out to my favorite ball handler of all time. I love AI, but Jason Williams, he's just a walking highlight if you watch his videos. Anniversary of the elbow pass was a few days ago. I think he's the best ball handler of all time. Just my opinion.
If you're going to ask me who the best ball handler of all time is, I am going to say it is probably Pete Maravich. Irving right now is probably a better ball handler than Pete Maravich because most modern NBA players are technically more sound. But at the time that he was playing, there was nobody like Pete Maravich. Apparently that guy, when he was at LSU and when he was in high school, he dribbled basketballs all throughout the hallways, all throughout campus at all times. So if that's not the mark of a great ball handler, I don't know what is. All right, last one. Spot-up shooter. Ray is the comp. Ray Allen, Jesus Shuttlesworth, whatever you want to call him. I don't think anybody's arguing that he's the greatest spot-up shooter of all time. Curry's the greatest shooter of all time, but Ray Allen, in terms of catch and shoot, spotting up, and putting the ball in the bucket, he's number one in my opinion. Matt, who was your comparison?
So I picked a little bit of a wild card here. I saw who Yanni and Sam went with, and it's hard to argue with those picks because they're absolutely spot-up shooters. I chose Kevin Durant, and my reasoning for that is if I'm wanting someone to shoot the ball on the floor, who do I want it to be? And I'm always picking Kevin Durant being 6'11" and being to shoot over almost everyone in the NBA.
See, I like that. I think Kevin Durant is the best shooter in the NBA today. But if I'm taking a spot-up shooter, if I'm kicking the ball out and I'm asking a guy to hit it 100 times out of 100, I'm taking J.J. Redick, potentially Kyle Korver. Those are my two debates right there, Kyle Korver or J.J. I ended up going with J.J. Love J.J. He just moves off screens well. I think he is the key component to Philly's success. They don't have him. They aren't what they are today. J.J. Redick is the best spot-up shooter in the NBA.
You know, this is almost a comical argument because if you're saying that J.J. Redick is the best spot-up shooter in the NBA today, J.J. Redick is like 6'3", 6'4".
I think he's shorter than that.
Probably like
I think
6'2", probably.
6'2", yeah.
He's 6'2". Didn't really get a starting role until this year in the NBA. I'm not going to lie. He's a great shooter. He has a great moving three-point shot. But Klay Thompson, I mean, 52 points, he only dribbled the ball 4 times. If that's not a spot-up shooter, I don't know what is. He is the definition of spot-up catch and shoot in today's NBA. He is the perfect fit for any team because you can just throw the ball to him and he can chuck it. He's a lot better from 3 than he is from mid-range, but he can hit the mid-range shots. I think if you're talking about like a Ray Allen comp, I mean, look no further. Ray Allen was a great on-ball defender. Klay Thompson's a great on-ball defender. J.J. Redick, not a good on-ball defender. Kevin Durant, second best player in basketball. Can't argue with that one. But Durant, he gets a lot more buckets by putting the ball on the floor than he does catching and shooting. So that's where I think Thompson has the edge there.
Sam, I agree with you with this, but my just take on Klay Thompson is he obviously is an incredible spot-up shooter because he has the pieces on his team that create the floor space to make him become a spot-up shooter. That's my only take on it. I love Klay, but I think JJ, like, being able to create his shot using screens and running around is more impressive than Klay just standing there, KD driving, causing 3 guys to collapse and a kick out.
Yeah, but Klay's proven that he can do that too. He does hit moving shots. Not the same way Redick does. I think Redick is better at the moving 3-point shot. I agree with you. But Klay can do that. And I think if you put Klay on a team where he has to do that more often, he would get really, really good at it. Like if he goes to the Lakers next year, for example. Although he did say that he wants to stay with the Warriors, but that's another conversation for another time. I just think Klay has like really proven over his entire career that he can really do anything in terms of shooting the basketball from outside. And I think it's hard to argue with that.
He's definitely a top 3 shooter of all time. I'll give him that.
So next, talk a little bit about the Lakers. They blew a... Did they even have a lead in that game? They just blew it against the Hawks, who are terrible.
I think Trae Young did the business. I think he got the job done. I think he took LeBron one-on-one in some of the baskets and just got the better of him that game.
The Hawks are the worst team in basketball. Just saying. The Hawks work the hardest out of the worst teams in basketball, and they aren't a check-off W. Just saying. But the Lakers fallen below 500 for the first time in LeBron's career after 40 games since his rookie season. Are people starting to get a little scared? Is the water getting is the ice getting a little thin?
I think ESPN is starting to get really scared. If you ever notice how much they praise LeBron and the Lakers with all that Anthony Davis trade talks. But I'm actually not necessarily happy that LeBron is and his team is doing so poorly, but I'm interested in where he's going to go with this and how he's going to handle it postseason, if they even make the postseason.
See, I wish this podcast had been created at the start of the NBA season because you would have heard my take at the start of the season saying the Lakers wouldn't make the playoffs, so you can believe that for what it's worth, but I have plenty of witnesses for it, and I heard on First Take the other day they were saying no one predicted it, like this was never going to happen for a LeBron James team. But, I mean, I saw this coming from a mile away, and I'm glad people are starting to see it now that they're under 500.
Yeah, I mean, the Lakers have dropped 4 of their last 5. They're definitely not looking good. And they're losing to teams that aren't even that, like, impressive. I mean, I get it. Yeah, the Warriors, Pacers, Sixers are all respectable. But the Hawks, I mean, like, give me a break. They're giving up how many points to...
If you're a playoff team, you can't lose to those low-level teams. As hard as the Hawks fight, you can't lose to those other conference low-level teams that you get 1, maybe 2 games against. Because if you blow your 1 game against the Hawks, that's a loss you are never going to get back.
And they're losing it's not like they just lost to the Hawks and it's like they've been doing other well, but they've been losing to below 500 teams consistently.
Yes.
This isn't new. This isn't news to anyone that they've been losing.
And I think my favorite part about the whole thing is even before they lose, LeBron is already heading to the locker room. The guy's had enough. I mean, this is some of the happiest stuff I can ever. I could watch a whole highlight tape of LeBron watching.
He's a bad teammate.
Awful teammate.
Not a bad man. He's a bad teammate.
Awful teammate. And that's just proven by, I mean, I think we talked about it last time. You seen that picture with everyone sitting on the left side of the bench, 5 empty seats, and then LeBron all the way on the right side of the bench. I just don't think people like him as a teammate.
I don't like him. Do you like him?
No.
Would you want to play with him?
I wouldn't. I mean, you see all these people who don't want to play with him. I don't think people's careers prosper when they're with LeBron.
Give me Steve Novak.
Yeah.
Give me Matt Bonner.
Give me those guys.
Give me Big Shot Bob. Give me a team player. Give me somebody who is respectful of his teammates, who doesn't say, I knew I was the greatest player of all time when I did that. That's when I knew I was number 1. Get the hell out of here. He makes me want to vomit on a consistent basis. I don't, I really don't want to get into the Jordan versus LeBron debate.
We'd be here all day.
We would be here all day. Actually, no, we'd be here for 5
Would we? Because I think we all agree Jordan is better than LeBron in
Yes,
everything
in
the way.
every
So I don't
which
know
way
about
of the
all day.
word.
We'd have to rename the show something about LeBron's hatred because I don't think I'd stop talking about it.
Honestly, I'd be down for that. That's actually a good idea.
Yeah.
But look, any player who whines to referees as much as LeBron, any player who complains about their teammates like LeBron, any player who gets their coaches fired consistently, who just causes problems in the locker room on a day-to-day basis and then goes out and says that they're the greatest player of all time. I mean, get the hell out of here. Michael Jordan, he just played and he won and he dominated and that's all he did and that's why he's the greatest. It's too clear for me.
I'm not I wouldn't consider myself a LeBron hater. I like what he did in Cleveland. I thought he did a lot for that small market franchise. And he literally he dragged his teammates to the playoffs, to the finals last year. I got to give him credit for that. It's this whole Lakers situation where I've really lost faith and respect for him with the whole trading away his teammates. Again, I think it really shows the kind of teammate he is this year, especially, even more so than last year.
As much as I want to keep talking about it, I'm going to call it there. I got a question for Sam. Do you think James Harden's 30-point-a-game streak or Russell Westbrook's triple-double streak is more impressive, and why?
I think the James Harden streak is a little bit more impressive than Russ's streak because Russ, we've seen him do this year in and year out. Obviously, it's amazing. Obviously, it's one of the most impressive things we've seen in the history of the NBA. He's going back to the days of Oscar Robertson with what he's doing, but his shooting is way down. His passing is still really, really good. That's probably the best aspect of his game. And Russell Westbrook, yeah, he does get clutch hard rebounds at times, but the reason his rebound numbers are so inflated is because the way the Thunder play is they get out there and run. They've got guys like Terrence Ferguson, Paul George who run the floor, and Russell will just grab a rebound and go because he's one of the fastest, most explosive players in NBA history, and that's what works for them.
Now, I'm going to actually use that point against you because I think it's the opposite. I look at it as what's easier to force, 30-point games or a triple-double? And if they just keep giving the ball to Harden, eventually we know he's going to shoot it. We know he's going to score with it. I think it's easier for him to force 30 points than it is for Russell Westbrook to force a triple-double because Steven Adams can get those rebounds, Paul George can get those rebounds.
But they know not to.
I know, but they also, the Rockets also know, other than James Harden, know not to shoot the ball, right?
Yeah, that brings me to the other point. Like both these streaks are totally more circumstantial, I think, than they are a credit to the player. Now, I don't want to take credit away from the players because they're doing unbelievable things, but the Rockets, when Chris Paul was out specifically, they ran a 13-second isolation offense with the ball in James Harden's hands. Either Harden found a shot or he got an assist.
And that was impressive. I loved what James Harden did for the team, and that's why they're in the playoff talks right now because of James Harden. But I think Russell Westbrook, who's the better team right now, OKC or Houston?
OKC.
OKC, and I think that they have a way better chance with Russ. I mean, did you see the game last night?
I did.
Yeah, Russ shot the ball decently well. I think he made.
He had one of his better games of the year. He had about 44 points.
Yeah, so I think this and Paul George. I don't know if you saw it. He shot.
He had a rough day.
So if one of those two can pick up the slack, I think even though OKC lost last night to an Anthony Davis less team who only played 15 minutes barely. I think this is that's a team that can push the Warriors, and it's just a more impressive stat. To
yeah,
me.
I respect your take on that. I think the main reason why I feel like Harden's is more impressive is because we haven't seen numbers like what he's doing since Wilt Chamberlain. And I don't know about you guys, but back when I was younger and I was fiending for all this NBA history and stuff, and I'd read about Wilt Chamberlain's stats and Bill Russell's stats, I'd read this and I'd say, I'm not going to see anything like this in my lifetime. You know, there's nobody who's ever going to do things like this again because there's nobody that stands out that much in terms of their physicality. James Harden doesn't even stand out that much with his physicality. Yeah, he is 6'6" and 230, and he's strong and he's fast and everything, and he does stand out, but not to the same extent as Wilt. But just the fact that he's been able to score so much, so consistently, and still win in this league. Because there have been teams where the Suns, for example, where they feed the ball to Devin Booker, and yeah, he can score, but they don't win. I think that's why it's so impressive for me, especially since the Rockets started off the season pretty poorly, and then once this streak started for Harden is when they started winning.
I like the take. I like the take a lot. I just want to put this out there. If Russell Westbrook averages a triple-double at the end of the season and makes it 3 straight triple-doubles, will that be one of the most impressive things we have seen in the modern era of basketball and potentially all time?
In every sense of the word, yes.
Let's also keep in mind that one last point. He's averaging a triple double again. I don't hear his name in MVP talks, which is honestly sad.
I think
it's sad because people are expecting that from him, so we're not going to give him that award.
I think that's because of two things. One, because his shooting is way down, and people are used to him not to be a plus shooter, but to be an average shooter. And also, Paul George has been playing at an MVP level this year. So I think people are, when they look at this Thunder team right now, they see it more as like the Paul George show than the Russell Westbrook show, because Russell Westbrook has done a better job of changing his game to benefit his teammates more. You can tell that he's not looking to dominate the ball on every single play. He's more open to letting PG create things, and guys like Terrence Ferguson are really stepping up for them. Steven Adams, not really Patrick Patterson, but they've got guys who have been having career years who nobody really expected. Abdel Nader's another one of those guys. I don't think anybody thought he would be
Grant too.
Yeah, Jeremy Grant's a damn good player. I like him a lot. I think part of the reason they lost last night is because Grant was out, because Grant probably would have been put up on Julius Randle at a huge game last night, so I agree with you on that. Also, one sore subject I want to talk about while we're on the Thunder, Alex Abrinas, recently released by the Thunder. I don't know exactly what's going on with him, but I'm hoping the best for him because apparently he's dealing with some personal issues. I hope that he gets through it and we see him on an NBA court soon. I've always liked him. He's a good player. So now let's talk about Brad Beal. Brad Beal's been having a very, very good season, especially since John Wall's left. NBA All-Star draft, he went second to last overall. Why is this man getting disrespected?
Honestly, I feel like it's because the Wizards aren't having the season that they usually have, so that he isn't in the limelight like usual. But, I mean, we aren't that far into February, but Bradley Beal's averaging about 28 points per game in February, five rebounds, 5 assists. For the season, he's 25, 5, and 5, which is extremely impressive for a team that isn't winning for what they usually are, and without arguably their best player. So I just think Bradley Beal is in the shadow of some of these other guards right now, and it honestly shouldn't be that way.
Yeah, also let it be noted that the Wizards are 3 games behind the Pistons for the 8 seed, so they can, if they win a couple of games, they can get there. But yeah, I mean, I got Brad Beal on my fantasy team, and I am not complaining by any means. This guy is a great all-around player. I know this is kind of crazy for me to say, but there's something about his game where he doesn't have the Mamba mentality, but the ability to score the way that he does and just do everything on the court. I think he's a little bit more selfless than Kobe was, but I don't know why I just see a little bit of Kobe Bryant in him, just the way that he just can get the ball in the basket on command. Matt, do you have a take on that?
Yeah, we also got to thank and pray for John Wall, right? Because he's the main reason why Bradley Beal is doing so well, because the ball is less in John Wall's hands. And, right, John Wall is a year plus from coming back due to a home injury. I don't know the specifics on that.
Torn Achilles.
Yeah, something like that.
Slip on a banana.
But I think I personally blame more John Wall for this, but the Wizards have not been good. They often, for 2 All-Stars on their team, 2 players that can shoot, handle the ball, pass, they've been a disappointment. They were the 8th seed last year, lost to the Raptors in 5-6, I think. Again, the Wizards have done something new with their roster. They dropped Markieff Morris.
They got rid of Otto
recently
Porter.
Signed with the Thunder, by the way.
Otto Porter, what do you have,
Porter, Kelly Oubre.
43 points the other night? You guys see that?
No, and
All guys
Jeff Green.
that I've liked that they've dished out.
Yeah, it's sad what they're doing. They must have a plan. Obviously,
They
wanna
have
keep,
no plan.
They want to keep Bradley Beal. I don't think they're going to trade him or anything. Bradley Beal's not a free agent.
Look, they
He's
are
not,
locked
yeah.
into a contract that is worth upwards of $38 million per year for the next 4 years with John Wall. John Wall is not going to play for the rest of the season or next year. In addition to that, John Wall showed up to training camp fat and out of shape. He was complaining about working hard. He gets on the court. He dominates the ball. He doesn't look for his teammates. John Wall is what we like to call a cancerous teammate. What he brings into that locker room is negative vibes. He's not a player that anybody in the league wants to play with. The only way the Wizards will ever be successful is in 5 years when John Wall's out of there. Because as long as he's there, I mean, they don't have the cap space to add another big player, so I don't see it.
And let's keep in mind that they have a center that's not playing right now because of injury, right? Dwight Howard?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean that's also a big Dwight Howard can most of the time do pretty well.
I will say, though, Thomas Bryant's been having a pretty good season for them. He's been a bit of a unexpected bright spot for them.
All right, I think we want to move on to my segment now since we're low on time. Is that all right with you, Sam?
Go ahead.
All right. So my segment is called Matt's Herb List, and the acronym I'm using for my last name is spelled ERB. It's everything right about basketball. I'm giving a top 5 list of a topic that I think is interesting after watching basketball this week. And this topic, it's going to be top 5 teams of the future. And I'm thinking 5 years in advance, so keep that in mind. I'm not necessarily 10, 20, or next year kind of thing, because we know who the top team's going to be next year. I'm thinking 5 years into the future. So at number 5, and I want you guys' opinion after, that's because I want you to tell me where I'm wrong and where I'm right. I'm going with the Phoenix Suns. I know it's been they've been pretty much a disappointment, even with high draft picks the last few years. But I think they're going to be at least the 4th or the 5th pick, right? And I'm looking at potentially Cam Reddish as a possible player. I know Yanni's going to get into that later. A man who can shoot. I think they need a good wing player like Cam Reddish.
Yeah, he's Josh Jackson for sure, isn't that guy?
Josh Jackson disappointment. And I love the way Devin Booker's playing. I think he's going to be a future All-Star. And DeAndre Ayton has been overlooked by Luka Doncic, as he should, because Luka Doncic is amazing. But DeAndre Ayton can give you 10 and 10, a double-double every night, and I think he's going to be a big center, big piece in the future. Number 4, I'm going with the Utah Jazz.
Well, let's talk about the Suns for a second.
Let me do all 5, and then we can tell me where I'm wrong. Utah Jazz. Donovan Mitchell, how old is he? 21, 22?
Something like that.
This man's going to be a future top 5 guard in the league. Rudy Gobert, 26 years old. This man does defensive monster. He won Defensive Player of the Year last year. And they have, I know Yanni will appreciate Grayson Allen, who I think will eventually get more playing time. And I think he can be a big part. And they have a lot of young talent on that team as well. Number 3, Sam. You know who I'm picking at number 3? You want to guess?
The Brooklyn Nets.
Brooklyn Nets. D'Angelo Russell. Have you seen this man play? All-star. He deserved to be an all-star. I think over Victor Oladipo. Jared Allen, top 5. I think will be the best center in the league one day. This man has known for blocking superstars, blocked Giannis, LeBron, Anthony Davis, Blake Griffin twice. I think the Brooklyn Nets are on the rise, and I believe they're going to get a free agent this
got
summer
dunked on
too.
the other night, but
By Marquise Chris of all people.
Yeah, I mean, not everyone's perfect. I think he's 19. I think 19 or 20. Jared Allen.
He's 21 years old.
He's 21. Okay, so still relatively young. Number 2, going with the Sacramento Kings.
My God.
I like Buddy. I love Buddy Hield shooting the ball well, insanely well. De'Aaron Fox, my favorite college player.
Let me say, I'm surprised nobody said Buddy Hield for the spot-up shooter conversation.
Yeah, that was a missed opportunity for sure. And then Marvin Bagley. I think Marvin Bagley's going to be I think he's more of a power forward than a center.
Agreed.
But I think he's going to be really good in the future too. And I think they got a good young coaching staff there. Any guesses of who I'm picking at number 1?
Wait, I just want to add one more thing for the Kings.
Right.
Bogdan Bogdanovic. He has the potential to be one of the better 2 guards in the game, too.
You're right. Any guesses for number 1?
I'm going to guess the Mavericks.
All right.
Can't think of one off the top of my head.
Give
me the Clippers.
Go in the clip.
Give me the Clippers.
All right. Sam, you'd be right. It's the Dallas Mavericks. This guy, Luka Doncic, this guy can ball. I think he will be the best guard in the or I think he can play wing player too. But I think he's more of a guard. And the fact that they acquired Kristaps Porzingis too, and they're potentially going to sign a free agent this summer too. Kristaps Porzingis will be the best player in basketball one day if he comes back healthy. This man's 7'3". He can shoot. He can get to the paint. He can do everything. I agree with Max Kellerman when he says that Kristaps Porzingis will be the best player in the game. And I think that the Mavericks have the brightest future and definitely will win at least 2 championships within the next decade. I'd like tell me where I'm wrong on that list. Anyone?
So you had the Kings for your number 2?
Yeah.
Am I correct?
Yep.
I think that the Kings have more pieces going forward than the Mavericks. That said, the Mavericks have bigger pieces, looking at Doncic and Porzingis. But after Doncic and Porzingis, like for their young guys, I don't think Dorian Finney-Smith is going to be a great player. He's good. Justin Jackson, meh. Tim Hardaway, I mean,
bucket.
I think he can get buckets, but I think we've seen what he is. Trey Burke, We know what he is. Maxi Kleber's a good player. I don't know what his ceiling is. I think he'll be an all-right role player for them into the future.
Doesn't Tim Hardaway's contract expire?
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to keep him after this
He'll
year.
probably be
I
gone.
Really don't.
Yeah.
I really don't.
And then, like, there are other guys. Yeah, they got Jalen Brunson, but, like, he's going to be, at best, another J.J. Barea, which is good, but that's really, like, reaching for it. Yanni, what do you think?
I like the top 5. I only mentioned the Clippers because I know they got a lot of cap space going forward. They're looking to sign big free agents, and I know it's 5 years from now that this list is for, so I like the picks that you have. The Kings, obviously, my favorite team out west. I think they're going to be an amazing squad once everyone grows up a little bit, but I like the list.
I also want to keep in mind 2 teams that I didn't include in their reasoning. I didn't include the Celtics. I didn't include the Lakers. LeBron, I think, is going to be out of the league or pretty much on his way out at that point. I think the young talent will be gone by then. I think they're going to either want out or be traded, and that goes for the Boston Celtics as well. I think Boston Celtics have the best chance to get Anthony Davis, and I can't see them keeping Jason Tatum, I guess a combination of Brown, Tatum, and Rozier, where they have a bright enough future for that.
And also Horford's going to be
and
old.
And Horford will be really old too. So.
Yeah. Back to the Kings. What I really like about them is that they're set up to already have depth in the future because they've got Willie Cauley-Stein playing center. He's been a good fit there for the most part. Some people are skeptical, but I think he's been having a really good season. They've got him and Bagley as their 2 primary frontline players, but people forget that Harry Giles was the best high school player in the country at one point. If it weren't for some devastating knee injuries, he might be maybe not in the All-Star talk, but he'd probably be in like the Rising Stars game at least.
I mean, the man tore both of his ACLs. Like, that is tough to come back from, especially from that height. You can see what Porzingis is having to deal with his leg issues right now. So similar stuff, but it's tough to come back from that. And I think once he does, fully healthy, like, we're still waiting for it. He's starting to incline as we speak, but
he'll be a good player.
Incredible player.
Yeah, and then continuing with the depth, De'Aaron Fox, I mean, he's got superstar written all over them. I don't even think we need to go into that. But they've got a gamer in Frank Mason, who I like a lot. Frank Mason deserved College Player of the Year back when he won it. I loved what he was doing with Harden the other night when he was grabbing at his beard, showing, I don't care that you're 6'6", I'm 5'10", I'm still going to mess with you. I'm still going to try and play some good defense. I think he's got a lot of – I just think he's got a good basketball mind. He's proven himself to be a good passer. He can shoot a little bit, and he works hard on defense. He'll be in this league for a while. So I think he's one of those guys – I think he'll maybe be like a Jameer Nelson type player at his peak. So I think – Matt, I think you had all home runs with your 5.
I'd say a close 6 honorable mention would be the Nuggets. They have a relatively young team, right? Jokic is under 25.
They're all young.
They're all young, and they got who's the name of the guy they drafted last year? I can't think of the name off the top of my head. The guy with the injury.
Michael Porter.
Yeah, I think he's eventually going to get back healthy and be really good.
Actually, yeah, now that you bring up the Nuggets, I think they have a better future than the Suns.
Yeah, because I think there's better managed than the Suns.
Yeah, they're a really well-run organization. The Suns have had a lot of problems for a long time, and now that I'm thinking about the Nuggets, I mean, look, Jamal Murray, he has the potential to be an all-star. Gary Harris, potential all-star. Monte Morris, one of the best backup point guards in basketball already. He was unheard of basically before this season. And then in addition to that, if Michael Porter's healthy, he has the potential to be a perennial all-star. Will Barton's one of the most underrated scorers in the league.
Extremely underrated.
Millsap will be gone by then. And then, yeah, you got Jokic, already a top 3 center in basketball, I'd say. So, yeah, I think they've got a lot of good things going for them, not to mention Mike Malone, who's a great coach.
All right, so I'm going to get right into my segment now. So with my vast college basketball knowledge, I decided to run a little segment I like to call Next Up. So I'm going to be talking about the players who are next up based on their performance during the week and what they can bring to the table as an NBA prospect. So my next up player for this week is Duke's Cam Reddish and how he sparked the comeback against Louisville. So during that game, for those who weren't tuned in, Duke obviously had a devastating first 30 minutes of the game, and we're down 23 points with 10 minutes to go. And when you are down that much in a college basketball game, or any game rather, you obviously need to score and score quickly. And the Cam Reddish's 3-point jump shot in that game looked cleaner and more effective than any of his prior games in the past and any other shooter in college basketball at the moment. If Cam Reddish can shoot with the confidence and consistency that he shot with in that game, he is going to have an NBA career that is not going to be touched by any other shooters. He is incredible. He can spread the floor. What he does for Duke is going to translate directly to the league. He's going to be a great prospect. Watch this guy going forward.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. He's 6'8", 220. He's already got the body, and he's only building. He can shoot really well. I think that once he gains the confidence, he can be one of the most dominant scorers in basketball.
I think we all agree he's definitely going top 5. I'm not sure about top 3. That'll depend on which team is picking.
Totally.
Yanni, I have to ask you, if on that Duke team, you know it better than anyone, who do you want shooting that ball and come if they're open? Like, perfect shot, who do you want?
If I get one shot, regardless of score, to win the game, I'm taking Cam Reddish.
Yeah.
What about Jones?
See, I like Trey Jones. The jump shot isn't there yet. I think Trey Jones is the piece to the Duke team that makes everyone go forward. He's obviously the most in the shadows of the top 2. I think Cam is also in the shadows of Zion and RJ, but the way Cam Reddish shoots the ball is unmatched.
You know, it really is such a shame because if Cam, he's right. You're right. He's often he is overlooked compared to RJ and Zion. If he was on his own team, I'm actually really impressed that he's still considered in the top 5, even though he's not averaging as much as he could if he had more. If he had the ball in his hands, he could shoot more. But I think if he was on his own team, not a knock against Cam Reddish or anything, because they're clearly winning, and he's an important piece of that team. But his numbers would look a lot better if he was on his own team for sure.
We'll see him in the NBA soon.
I agree. I just want to say one more thing on Trey Jones. I think the reason I brought up Trey Jones in that last shot conversation is because we saw it with Tyus also.
Yes.
They just kind of have that clutch gene where they hit shots at the right time, they make the right play at the right time. But
MVP of the Final Four that year.
Exactly.
Won the national championship.
Exactly. But I think Reddish is the best shooter on that team. And yeah, I agree. He's got next.
So speaking of Trey Jones, because we know Tyus Jones was really good at Duke too, but we know he's a backup to a backup point guard on Minnesota on a team that doesn't really have a decent point guard. Do you feel that Trey Jones will follow his brother, or do you think he'll be able to play more?
It's very tough to be a guard in this league. I don't think Tyus should have went to the draft when he went to the draft. I think Trey's going to follow in the same footsteps regardless of what they do national championship wise, but I just don't see his game translating directly right away, at least, that the top 3 of Duke are going to. So I think that he is going to go. I don't think he's going to prosper right away. New mock draft just released. Supposedly he's going 24 to the Celtics, so we could see him in Boston.
I want Chris Wilkes with that pick.
A lot of people do.
I'm a big Chris Wilkes fan right here. I think Chris Wilkes is going to come into the league. Bottom, he'll be James Young. Top, Klay Thompson. Bold, I know. You don't need to tell me.
Oh, yeah.
All right, so we're right around the 45-minute mark. I think we're going to get to wrapping it up. Yanni, give me your final take of the day. What do you predict for the NBA All-Star Game?
I was just going to say, give me Team Giannis by 1,000. You can't put Russell Westbrook and Giannis on the same team and expect them to lose. Like, they are the 2 biggest competitors in that game, and they're on the same team. You expect them to lose? Not a chance.
You are out of your goddamn mind. Give me Team LeBron 100%. They literally have all the better players.
Team LeBron has way better players, but they're there for the show. They aren't there to win that game.
And also, Anthony Davis did leave last night's game with an apparent shoulder injury, thus resulting in Dell Demps getting fired. A little bit of a rash decision by the Pelicans. Kind of got screwed over by the NBA. So if he's not in the All-Star game, Team Giannis is a better shot. Matt, what do you think?
Yeah, you guys pretty much hit the nail on the head there. Team LeBron is better on paper, but I also think he's using it as a recruiting tool for some of those players, Kyrie Irving, Anthony Davis, Klay Thompson, and all those boys, and Kevin Durant too. But I'm gonna have to go with Team Giannis. I'm a little, I don't want to say concerned, but I'm curious to know how Joel Embiid and Russell Westbrook will work out together.
I think they'll have fun.
Yeah, I hope so. I hope there's no, purposely, purposely not giving someone the ball or something for that reason. But yeah, I'm excited for the All-Star game.
Honestly, I'd love to see that, but that's what the All-Star game's all about.
Yeah, it should be a fun All-Star weekend. While we're talking about it, 3-point shootout, who you guys got?
Ooh.
I got Joe Harris of the Brooklyn Nets.
Is Joe Ingles in it this year?
He's not.
Give me one of the Curry brothers, honestly. I think both them are in it. Give me one of them.
Matt, what are you thinking?
Yeah, I think Damian Lillard's in it, right?
Yeah,
I think Damian Lillard's in it, and if I'm gonna make an aggressive bet there and say Damian Lillard.
Yeah, the participants are Seth,
Booker.
Steph, Dirk, Buddy Hield, Dame, Chris Middleton, Kemba, Danny Green, Devin Booker, and Joe Harris.
All right, so Dame's not in it, so I'm gonna go old school and pick.
No,
Dirk.
Dame is in it.
Oh, you did say Dame?
Yeah.
Maybe I didn't hear that. Yeah, then I'm still going with Dame.
Dunk contest, who we got?
Give me Miles Bridges.
I agree. Miles Bridges by 1,000.
I'm going John Collins. I read and saw on the morning on ESPN that Trae Young is involved in his dunk, like with
Trae
John
Young's
Collins.
a great passer.
Yeah, so I'm considering. I hope they do something cool with that, and I'm going with John Collins for the Falcons.
Yeah, that should
Not
be
the
cool.
Falcons, the Hawks.
The Hawks.
Wrong sport.
28-3, anyone?
Yeah.
All right, I guess, and then skills challenge. Matt, who are you taking?
Can you just remind me who's even in the skills challenge?
Yeah, we got Luka Doncic, Trae Young, De'Aaron Fox, Mike Conley, and then for the bigs, Nikola Jokic, Jason Tatum, Kyle Kuzma, and Nikola Vucevic.
It's hard to bet against Luka Doncic, but for the sole purpose of my favorite player, 21 and under, it's De'Aaron Fox for me.
Yeah, I totally agree. De'Aaron is the fastest player in the league. The fastest player usually wins this event. Dinwiddie won it last year. He's pretty fast, so yeah, I agree with Matt. Yanni, what about you?
So I think the only thing I think De'Aaron Fox has probably the best chance to win it, but I think the best 3-point shooter is going to win it because that's how this is settled every single time. So I want to say Kuzma or Trae Young is going to win it just because if you hit that 3-point shot first, you win. So I think those two have the best chance to win it, but I like De'Aaron Fox as well.
That about wraps it up for episode 2 of the Hoopcats podcast. I would like to thank my co-hosts, Yanni Kokoris and Matt Erb. We have a volleyball tournament this Saturday at Northeastern University. Come out and support us, the UNH volleyball team. We need your support. We're going to have a good tournament. We're going to try and kick some BC and Northeastern butt when we're down there in Boston. Last but not least, I would like to thank our producer, Mr. Benjamin Strawbridge, who is currently not here, but we'll find him eventually. And as always, thank you and good night.
Thank you, everyone.